And what we're doing, I said, can we partner together? What can we do to make some positive change? That was the conversation, and then we're here today, and we got this product launch that we're talking about, which is performance. And honestly, the purpose of today is less about performance. What we really want to do, and this is why I'm so excited to have Stacy here for you guys, is we really want to educate you on the physiology of your body. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy complicated, but she'll make it much simpler for us. And what do you need to help perform, to achieve your personal best? Stacy's a world-renowned sports scientist. She's a physiologist, a nutritionist. She's a brainwave. She partnered with Nuun, Vishal, who picked her up at the airport, helped and was leading the development of this. He's our nutritionist at Nuun, and he's still parking a car, so he'll listen. Vishal, wave to the crowd. Vishal, wave. Yeah, he's playing humble now. This product has been, it's from a Nuun perspective, it's been in development for, call it 4 years. It's been kind of fast forwarded to another level when Vishal and Stacy worked together. In Stacy's mind, it's probably been in development for a decade or more, and Vishal as well. He's been doing this. In fact, when I talked to Stacy about developing this performance product, my comment to her was, if we can't do better than whatever is out there, then, like, have we basically tapped out? Then let's just stop. So can we stop at Osmo is basically my question to you. And you're like, no. I mean, we've learned a lot more since then. That was 7 or 8 years ago, right, when that's developed. We got more science. We can advance this one. So here's my question for you, Stacy, is, I know we're going to be biased, yes, so we'll caveat this. We're biased. That being said, we're confident. Why is this the best hydration ever created on the planet?
Because I have developed? No. No, I mean, as you learn more about physiology and science does come forward, there's more and more of the genomic scope and also a lot of talk about the gut. And when people start exercising, one of the things they don't really realize is that you're cutting off blood flow to the digestive system, which causes a very hot and low oxygen situation, and that can really perturb the gut. So if you start taking in things that can increase that perturbation and open the leaky cells, you have a whole bunch of not necessarily problems within training, but residual recovery effects like inflammation, your metabolism's jacked, you have problems sleeping. So with this, you're taking all the new science of like how to keep the gut at the least stress possible, how to promote health. There was an article that came out about 3 weeks ago looking at endurance athletes and their gut microbiome. And it's the training diet that pushes people over the edge into chronic fatigue and immune suppression and having so many GI issues. It's because a high sugar diet of an endurance athlete on the bike or while they're training is perturbing the good bacteria and killing it off. So with this, we're using the least effective dose of things that your body needs to be able to maximize performance under stress.
Sometimes I get Stacy to say it like 7.3 different ways because I'm like, okay, let's see if I can get this figured out. So when you say that, can I play back something, see if I get this right?
Yeah.
So I'm drinking my sports drink that has carbohydrates and electrolytes in there, a lot of carbohydrates in there in excess than what your body can handle as a fluid. So it goes to the lower intestine, did I get that right? Or small intestine, so small intestine, which then, what it's then sensing is it's got carbohydrates it needs to dilute that, right? Because that's how it functions. Again, I play a doctor on TV, but clearly I'm not. But I literally had to break this down, so I hope this is helping. So then your body goes, well, if I need to dilute that, I need to pull water from the rest of my body to make that now hydration, if you will, like just a fluid. Okay, and then that's the result is if you don't, the result there is intestinal distress.
And it also promotes dehydration. And the whole idea of drinking is to slow down your rate of body water loss. So you're effectively magnifying your body water loss because you're pulling it all into the gut.
Like, to me, like, I that was mind-boggling. Seriously, it was mind-boggling to me. So I don't know about you guys. So before I started at Nuun, for me, I believed that I needed liquid carbs. Like, I truly did. So training for Ironman, I'm going, I need the liquid carbs because it's easy to take in and I can get through this thing. Not compete. So get through this thing to the end. And then since I've been at Nuun, I've started to learn, because how Nuun was developed was actually based off of your research from a long time ago. And this is before we partnered, she just didn't know it yet. And it was separating your hydration from your fuel. So how did I make it through an Ironman knowing that I took liquid fuel as well as the electrolytes?
I get this question a lot, and people are like, well, I don't necessarily have GI distress. But part of it is you actually didn't know how much better you could have done. You don't know if you could have perhaps eaten better and gotten less fatigue and less irritation in the gut. People do muddle through and they're like, oh, I can use CarboPro and I can use Perpetual to get through it all. But the end result is you shouldn't have to slow down. And you also shouldn't end up with bloating and gassiness that is so common now at the end of the race. If you are fueling your body well and appropriately and allowing your intestines not to be overly stressed, then you can maintain pace, you can reduce fever, you can avoid all the body weight changes that happen, avoid hyponatremia primarily in women, and you don't end up with that gassy bloating feeling that everyone takes as normal.
Helpful. Question for you is, how do I take in both, so not just fluids, but then the fuel, right? Because you're really a proponent of real food, not necessarily a gel, but more on the real food side. But how do I do that with high intensity, whether it's bike or run?
So with high intensity, you're not going to be out for a very long time, for the most part, up to 90 minutes, right? So you can fuel for that 90 minutes, and then when you start hitting about the 65, 70-minute mark, and you're like, I'm running low, then you use glucose tablets. Because glucose tablets were designed to bring your blood sugar up without interfering with digestion. And a lot of my athletes are like, it's like crack. You take one and then boom, you're off. And you don't even feel like any distress at all. You just all of a sudden have a lift. And people use a gel for that same situation to get that lift. But then if they're already on the cusp of cramping or having some kind of dehydration-related stress, taking that gel in is worse than taking in a sports drink, because then you're getting that really concentrated carbohydrate that can make or break you towards the end. So in high intensity, it's more about keeping blood volume or your hydration going so that you can get blood to the muscle and to the skin, working it however you can, and then using quick hits of sugar towards the end just to maintain your blood sugar.
Got it? You got your race plan? Training plan? Okay, so another one. Sweat rate. I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm a salty sweater. I'm not a salty sweater. Therefore, I need so much sodium. No, you don't. Can you just help us understand sweat rate, why that's important, salty sweater versus not salty sweater? Can you help us understand this whole thing? Because I'm just really lost.
You and probably everybody else in the endurance world. Because now the new thing is, let's come get your sweat tested. Let's analyze your sweat. Let's see how much sodium you're losing. Your sweat rate only dictates what's happening in the room when you're having your test. So if you're in a very hot room with no airflow, you're going to have a higher sweat rate. If you're a woman in the high hormone phase, you're going to have a higher sweat rate. If you're cycling in a cool environment, you're going to have a lower sweat rate. So your sweat rate is very dependent on your environment. As for electrolyte losses in sweat, if you eat a high sodium diet, then you're going to have a high sodium content in your sweat. If you are a woman in the high hormone phase, you're going to have a higher amount of salt in your sweat than you would if you're in the low hormone phase. So measuring how much electrolyte you're losing in your sweat is not indicative of what you need to take in, because you have all these stores, and your body's very good at storing things. So when you're thinking about what do I need to take in, it's not about replacing, it's about what do I need in the moment to keep things, from a stress point of view, low. And then you can replace all your electrolytes through real food after you've finished.
Building on that, do you have any examples of athletes, maybe in the cycling community because it's most relevant for this audience, but it could be run as well, or triathlon, that you've kind of coached through that where they thought they needed something and you're like, let me tell you about what the sweat rate really means and then what you really need to consume?
I've gotten a couple of distress calls from Kristen Armstrong at the Olympics going, I've done this and I don't know what to take. How do I recover? What do I need to replace? And she was very much in the, I need to take all these supplements. I need to, be clear about the supplementations like vitamin D and magnesium and salt. It's like, no, just back down pumpkin seeds for magnesium, salt your food, protein at regular intervals from real food, or if you can't do it, then a clean protein drink. And the recovery was really good. All of her electrolyte balance came back into play, and it's just looking at, okay, what can you do with what food has to offer rather than a supplements standpoint? Because we're not as smart as nature. We don't know how coenzymes work within food to make things work in our body. So when you take someone through and be like, okay, forget everything that you know about sport nutrition, let's bring it back into the real world and see what you have available and what your body needs.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, here's one for you. Put you on the spot a little bit. 5 myths that exist today in sport nutrition. 5 myths.
60 to 90 grams of carbohydrate per hour. I really dislike that one, especially if it's mixed carbohydrate. So it came out in MedSci Sport Exercise about 4 or 5 years ago from Asker Jukendrup, and he does really fantastic research, but the actual data pool ended up being on 13 male white elite triathletes that were probably genetically predisposed to being able to handle that high amount of carbohydrate. But for any normal person, it overloads a lot of the gates in the stomach, so you actually can't absorb that much. So Rennie, who pro triathlete, she tried it at Worlds in Vegas and completely blew up because she just is like, what happened? I tried 90 grams of carb per hour, it didn't work. The other one is sodium replacement, taking salt tablets, but already talked about that. So liquid calories, we've already talked about that. And the need for like chocolate milk right after training is another one. That
What's going on there?
chocolate milk is good for men, but not for women. We need more, as a woman, you need about a 2-to-1 ratio of protein carbohydrate, so twice the amount of protein the man needs. And this whole chocolate milk campaign, it's like, well, it'd be better if you just had a regular low-fat milk instead of all the sugar that's coming in a chocolate milk standpoint. Because it's all about getting the leucine level up, and it's not necessarily about the sugar intake. So there's a dichotomy there of what you actually need post-exercise.
How about one other myth I think I heard you say at one point was water doesn't hydrate you.
That's right. That's my favorite one. Because everyone's like, oh, just drink more water. And you'll have people walking around all day drinking bottles and bottles of water and peeing. And they're still thirsty, and they're peeing more, and they're still thirsty, and they're peeing more. And you're like, I'm hydrated, my pee's clear, but I'm still thirsty. It's because you need a little bit of sodium to pull that water in when you're not under exercise stress. And if you are just drinking plain water, then it causes a stretch response within the intestines that signals you to pee out more than you're actually taking in. So you can still be thirsty and peeing clear, but dehydrated.
Love it. Thank you. That one shocked me, so I had to ask it because she didn't call it out, so I put it on the spot. So let's do one more. This is like a little bit of a game, right? Do you guys remember the eat this, not that? Pulling this one from Lisa on our team. So we have a core pillar that's important to us at Nuun, and it honestly should be important to everyone, and it's around clean sport. Let's change the conversation about getting people to compete clean as opposed to obviously doping. So the eat this, not that, in this case is if you do this, i.e. this doping method, then what's the clean alternative? Stacy thinks you can actually do better without doping. So we'll put her on the spot on this one. And I'm not an expert again on this one, but EPO, why do we do this? Well, not we, why do they do this? Okay, I did it once, no, I'm just kidding. Why do we do this? And then what's the clean alternative?
So first and foremost, all of my research is how do you improve physiology without doping. So this is, kind of the baseline bottom line of everything that I do. So EPO, you take it because it stimulates red cell production. But the aspect of clean doping, or a natural way of doing it, is you drop what we call the partial pressure of oxygen at the level of the kidney. People are like, what? That's scientific. So it's going into a sauna, somewhat dehydrated after training. It's very planned and strategic, but I'm just giving you the overview. And what happens if you go into a very hot environment when you're somewhat dehydrated, you don't have as much blood to be able to offload the heat and handle the heat. So all your blood goes to your skin to try to help you thermoregulate, which drops the amount of blood circulating at the kidney. And the kidney's like, wait, I need more blood. So it stimulates EPO production naturally. And the other aspect is, with red blood cells, your body also expands the water part, so you get total blood volume instead of just red cells. If you have total blood volume increase, then you have better oxygen circulation because you actually have the fluid to carry the cells and deliver the oxygen. You can also do it with a combination of heat and altitude. We just finished a study comparing the two. And you can afford to do less training in a hot and at altitude environment. You can do 30% less and get a better plasma volume expansion and red cell response, as well as better training adaptations. Because you recover better, but you still get that stimulus from the kidney.
So next race, I need your help. Just kidding. Well, actually, I probably do. Okay, am I going to pronounce this right? Here's another one. Vishal, you're going to help me with this, right? Clenbuterol, right? I said yes. What is this? Why do people do it? And then what's the clean alternative?
Clenbuterol is a steroid, and it is a vasodilator, so it's often found in asthma inhalers to stimulate the lungs to open up. And most people who have heard of beet juice, it does the same thing, so does beta-alanine. So if you want to eat a lot of chicken for beta-alanine, you can do that, or you can just drink beet juice. But a lot of people don't think about it as the timing. It's like people do beet juice before training, or they do beet juice before VO2 max intervals. Do it in the middle of the race before a major climb, because then you're going to get that vasodilatory effect, and it's that ergogenic aid that you need in the moment.
Tyler, you got your advice for the next one. I don't have any more on the doping side, unless you want to go through something that's another clean alternative, because it's just way over my head. I'm just kidding. No, it's really helpful. At the end of the day, I love how Stacy is changing the paradigms of you don't have to dope to compete. And by the way, I'll do a little plug for Clean Sport for a moment. So if you go to cleansport.org, it's a nonprofit organization. We're a founding member of Nuun of that. The whole idea of that is we need to change the conversation. We need to celebrate the clean athletes. Doping robs competitors of their chance, if you will, those that compete clean. Long term, it's not good for the sport. I know baseball's coming back, but it sure was in a big rut when you go back to the home run derby years of like Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, etc. That's just one example. You could go across every sport. It actually isn't good long term. So cleanspot.org, take the pledge. All of you are athletes, all of you are fans, so you can take the pledge to say, I pledge to compete clean, or I pledge to support those that compete clean. And the more we can change this conversation, would be great. It's free, there's no cost. Just spread the word. And we'll talk a little bit about Clean Sport in one moment as well, a donation we're going to do tonight on that as well. You want to add?
So the other thing, after being in the food and sport industry, that you have a lot of athletes who might be caught doping and they blame it back on the product. And one of the driving factors that I've had with partnering with Nuun is to create a very clean product where we know exactly what's in it. There's no fillers, there's no flow agents, there's no chance of anybody testing positive on anything that we do. And I think it's important for the sport nutrition industry to take that step up. And Nuun is taking that step up and saying we are standing behind our product, and we are making sure that any athlete who uses it is going to be clean and be confident. And I believe that Nuun is the first company to actually put that step in the ground and say, we're not going to just be a product out there, we're actually going to do what we say.
Awesome, thank you. So one of the things I told Stacy is I was having my protein recovery after a workout, and it was probably like a 24 ounce like shake, so it's basically water, almond milk, and like a plant-based protein. But it was a lot. And then, if I recall, your comment to me was, that's too much liquid at once, right? Can you give any context, like, how can that be too much? I need to rehydrate at the same time I need to get my protein, no?
Yeah, but it's slow amounts. So you need to slowly rehydrate over the course of 3 to 4 hours. So it's more about getting the protein in and then slowly rehydrating. Because if you're putting in too much fluid at once, you're going to pee it out.
About the 60 to 90 grams of carbs per hour. Can you talk a little bit about why that doesn't make sense? Because I know in some endurance circles that is the gospel.
Right.
And maybe how that contributes to Nuun, because I know there's other obviously sport drinks out there that have a higher ratio of carbohydrate for the same amount of liquid. So can you go into a little bit more detail on that?
It's two different things. So when you're looking at a sports drink that has more carbohydrate, again, they're focused on fueling and they're not focused on fluid availability. So their first thought is how much carbohydrate can we get in? And this is where endurance athletes fall into that. I got to get in that 60 to 90 mixed, like maltodextrin, fructose, glucose, to try to get in as much carbohydrate as possible. Initially, they did the research looking at maximizing all of your different carbohydrate, quote, gates and transport mechanisms in the intestines. Maltodextrin is a non-starter. It can reduce what we call the osmolality, so it gets out of the gut quickly into the intestines, but that's where it sits and can cause this effective dehydration. The other aspect is, from a physiological standpoint, that 60 to 90 grams might work for someone who's genetically predisposed to being able to process carbohydrate quickly. But for most of us, we don't have that genetic variant, and so it sits in the gut. And for women, we cannot absorb as much fructose as men. We can absorb around 26 grams per 100, and men can absorb 66. So when you're thinking about what am I trying to pull in and what do I need it for, if you're thinking 60 to 90 grams of carbohydrate and you're just getting your calories from carbohydrate, you're going to overload the gut really quickly, and you're going to end up slowing down with effective dehydration and probably some gut or other cramping issues. So again, the research, when you look at those particular initial papers that came out with this and looking at the mixed different carbohydrate sources, they're all done in different cohorts, and when you disseminate across all the papers, it ends up only being 13 people, and of those 13 people, 6 complained of GI distress, and all of them finished dehydrated.
I'm not sure if it's that I'm eating the wrong things or if I just can't keep anything down.
How long is the run?
6+ hours.
Yeah, so this is where, when you look at what's happening in a 6+ hour, the first half of the run, or actually the first third of the run, is going to be different from the middle and the last third. And as you're going, again, you have that erosion in your gut, but also what you can handle, because you're getting progressively dehydrated. No matter how much you're drinking, you still can't replace everything you're losing. So you become more and more sensitive. So you need to change up what you're eating. In the first part of the run, you want to think about, what am I doing now so that I can sustain the 6-7 hours? So you're kind of preempting that, so you have residuals to draw from. And then as you get further into the run, that's when you switch to the more glucose tab or chews, those kinds of things. At the start, try little protein bites or bites of real food, and then as you get to lulls, then you switch to glucose tablets when you feel like you can eat a little bit more. So you have to play around and mess it up a little bit, but definitely go into a long run after having a week or 2 weeks of pre and probiotics in your diet.
How does beer affect hydration?
How does beer and alcohol, meaning he's having both tonight, affect hydration and recovery?
Beer, unfortunately, is a diuretic, unlike coffee. Coffee is not a diuretic. Caffeine is not a diuretic. And the other thing is, you'll store the alcohol, and your body will use alcohol as preferred fuel, so you won't burn body fat or carbohydrate. So you'll see like older professional athletes who have now become recreational, and they're still okay fit, but they have a big gut, is because they're never burning that body fat. So a couple of one-offs here and there, a-okay. But if you want to really perform well and be healthy, moderation, unfortunately, is the key.
We're really humbled and grateful.
And thank you for waiting.
And waiting for Stacy and the pilot to land.
Yes.
Poor Stacy delayed a couple hours there. Again, I mentioned this, guys. We're a local Seattle company. Our headquarters are over in the International District. Come over and say hi anytime. We love visitors. We love saying hi. We do a little internal happy hour every Friday. Brian provides us with beer, or he didn't know he was going to keep doing that. But all kidding aside, we're a proud Seattle company, and please stop by anytime. This is a brand new launch. You barely can find it anywhere. In fact, this is the first store I've ever seen it in. It just launched yesterday. It is the best hydration product on the planet. The Nuun electrolyte tablets, also amazing, but different occasion. This is like 90 minutes or more, if you will, or high intensity endurance. That's when you want to use this. You don't actually need this for a shorter distance or shorter time. So that you don't hear too many brands say that, right? You don't actually need this if you're going to go with a shorter period of time. So you can buy it tonight if you want at Metier. And thank you for coming out. Is there anything else? Any other closing words? Comments? Stacy, thank you so much. Vishal, thanks for doing the chauffeuring. Cheers.